Especially when it is the central lake, it just goes to the elimination. So.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Thank you. It is a beautiful day outside. We're going to have a great meeting today. I'd like to start today's Toastmasters meeting with inspiration. Margot, I see you online. Can you inspire us today?
I will try. Good morning, everyone. Never underestimate the power of a good cup of coffee. Great coffee is inspiring whether you've grown to love all the little pure nuances of specialty coffee or you love the simplicity of delicious warm cup in your hands. For some, inspiration comes from thinking about what's in the cup, how it got there, why it tastes the way it does. For others, inspiration comes from having that warm, tasty coffee in your hands while watching the birds from your front porch or reading the paper. So drink up. We need you to take on the world every day. There's something inspiring about what you enjoy about good coffee, no matter how you enjoy it. Enjoy your meeting, folks.
Thank you, Margot. And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to have you all welcome our Toastmasters for the day up. Sylvia stepping up. Appreciate it. Come on up, Sylvia.
Skeleton crew this morning. There's everyone. They didn't have their coffee yet, right? Is that it? Okay. Well, I'd like to start, even though Margot did a great inspiration, that was like a toast. But I'm going to do another toast to the 3 H's: health, honor, and happiness. Health to the world, honor to those who seek it, and happiness in our homes. All right. I'm missing a couple people, but I do know Kate is coming for sure. I have not seen Ryan yet, but I know he's here. I've been talking to him the last 2 days, so we'll be coming. I'm just stalling a little, as you could tell. Please have your ballots for voting. So the coffee wars, Tim Horton and Starbucks. It was pretty interesting when I started investigating this coffee war, they call it. But a little history first about the coffee. It was introduced through the islands of Indonesia by the Dutch in 1600s. Today's top coffee producers are Brazil, Vietnam, and Ethiopia. There's something new, I didn't know that. With cafes at every corner around the global world, there's no surprise that the coffee is one of the top commodities worldwide. As the third consumed beverage in the world after water and tea, coffee beans are in high demand everywhere. Second to oil is the most traded, with about 500 billion, that is with a T, 500 billion cups consumed daily. But now to the coffee wars. It's not really a taste. It has to do with marketing. And through my whole research, not one Zoom or online person who did this statistics said whose coffee was better. So it's a marketing. Tim Hortons versus Starbucks. They each sell the same product, right? Coffee. Their prospective brands to attract a particular set of customers. Which one are you? The better the experience, the higher the consumer is willing to pay. Or in other words, a unique product plus an extraordinary experience equals a premium price point. Has nothing to do with taste. So I'm going to start with our roll holders. Jackie Kenny this morning is our word master.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. Our word of the day is potable, meaning safe to drink. You cannot make a good cup of coffee or tea if you don't have potable water. Please use the word of the day.
Our second job holder this morning is Mike Licata, our master.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. My job this morning is the ah counter. We count the ahs, ums, and pregnant pauses throughout the meeting. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Marion Nancy Ferry.
First of all, Tim Hortons used to be awesome. Now it tastes like water. Starbucks, I don't drink regular decaf. I don't drink regular coffee. So those latte, mocha, chocolate, cappuccino, whoozy, what's it that cost $10, I don't enjoy those. I only drink decaf. So a cup of decaf is a cup of decaf. Doesn't matter where you get it. As grammarian this morning, I will be listening for words that are descriptive, words that shine, sparkle, perhaps a little whimsical. And I will also be listening for uses of our English language that are less enticing, less interesting, a little bit off. So please use grammar in a great way today. Don't drop any G's on the ends of your words, and please don't use duh or this or that. Thank you.
Quote master this morning, Kate volunteered to be quote master, and just to change up a little bit of the agenda, Kate is speaker number 1, and her evaluator will be Marty. I don't see Mr. Marty yet. And Beth will be speaker 2, and her evaluator is Gerald Stevens. Kate, do you have a quote? Come on.
Morning. Good morning, everybody. I forgot that I agreed to also be quote master. Jason was supposed to be quote master, and I was mentor, and we met on Monday and chit chatted, and he said, I have interviews on Thursday and Friday. I really need to focus. I can't do it. I said, I don't have a job. I'll sign up as quote master. Sure, no problem. Let's take care of that. Totally forgot when I signed up as speaker also today. So don't do that, folks. So Natalie also, she's in Texas and said, no, I'm not doing a Zoom speech. That's not happening. So she'll be back eventually, and maybe we'll get her back to speak. But quote master, oh my goodness, for coffee. This isn't a quote, but something interesting that I thought of, quotes in my background. What? Oh, of course, David is. What role are you, David? Are you something? Well, you'll be called on for table topics or something maybe. So we'll let David speak then if he is called upon. So I always thought that it was probably, well, this is too long. I think we've talked enough. So that was Kate's quote today. The quote was by Kate. I talked a lot about nothing, but thank you very much.
I should have had you as Jester. Gerald Stevens, Jester.
Did you know that the first location of Starbucks is in Seattle? Yeah, that's good. I didn't know that because I'm going to go there. And somebody told me, and did you tell me, Beth? It wasn't Beth. Someone else told me that so the location is there. So I was like, okay, I may do that. In regards to the wars, Starbucks or Tim Hortons, I agree with Nancy. Tim Hortons has definitely gotten watered down. When they open a new location, I believe they use a higher quality. That's my secret belief, to kind of rope in the locals. And Starbucks is far too expensive. My daughter will have a Starbucks and it'll be literally $10. with all the different things she puts in it. And she doesn't tell me that, of course, when we order. So I get the bill. I actually like Spot Coffee if I had to pick someplace. Because they do a decaf latte. Some places don't. Nancy is going to Spot, I think, to get a decaf latte. So I have 3 pretty bad jokes. Before I do that, I neglected to mention who is in the room. So in the room today, Jackie Kenny, Beth Banks, Mike Licata, Jill Roaring, Steve Smith, Dave Licata, Tom Heldwine, Nancy Ferry, Carol Halstead, Tracy Farrell, Kate Banks, and of course, Len Thornton, and Sylvia, and myself. Online, we have Jen Zappa, Eric Schneider, and Mark Campos, and Phil Russell. I don't know if I missed anybody else online.
Jason and Eric.
And Jason and Eric are also online, so that should help our table. And Margot, that should help our table topics master. Now on to my really bad jokes. What's a barista's favorite exercise at the gym? French press. Yeah, pretty bad. How are coffee beans like teenagers? Both are always getting grounded. What did the coffee addict say to his doctor? I don't have a coffee problem, but you'll have a coffee problem if I don't have it. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Online this morning, Mark is our tech ingester. Mark Campos.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. Well, before I get into my job, I want to just share that I am definitely on Team Tim's in the coffee wars. Starbucks is fine if you're into that sort of thing. You like the specialty drinks or you like the atmosphere, but to me, just a little too pretentious in my mind. Why can't we just call it small, medium, and large? Tall, venti, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I really I get annoyed with having to go into a Starbucks to get something for my wife or my daughter, and it's an 8-word long order, which I can never memorize. Can't it just be a simple coffee? Anyway, my job as tech and gesture master is to report on everyone's use of gestures today and how well we manage our technology. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. Quiz master this morning, Tracy Farrell. How are you, Tracy?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. If anybody's going to ask me, my choice is Starbucks. If it's going to be the experience, it's definitely Starbucks. I also believe it's way too expensive, but I think Tim Hortons is too expensive too. I make my coffee at home. As far as quiz master, I'm going to piggyback on what Nancy Ferry said. I'm going to be listening to those whimsical tidbits or stories that are a little bit off, and I'm going to quiz everybody at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Madam President.
I do have to throw something in here about the cost. It depends where you go. The price is different everywhere. My husband was going to Syracuse for work and they stopped on the thruway. That one Tim Hortons, $4.09 for a medium, double. He almost fell over. Timer this morning, Len Thornton.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. First off, in the coffee wars, I would have to say Dunkin' Donuts is my favorite tasting coffee, but I don't do drive-through coffee anymore because they insist on brewing it at 211 degrees and it takes me 3 hours before I can sip it because I drink it black and I simply won't do that. I just end up lugging it around and spilling it. What I actually drink is a mushroom coffee from Four Sigmatic. It has lion's mane and chaga in it, and it helps your concentration. And at my ripe old age, I need all the help I can get. So my job today is timer. I have a phone and I have a stopwatch app on it. So I'll be your timer, Madam Toastmaster.
General evaluator this morning is Thomas Heldwine. Morning, Thomas.
fine, Dave. It's fine. You will call, we'll try and call on you during table topics so you get some attention. Someone asks when they come in from out of town, what Tim Hortons is, and I say, well, imagine Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts had a child, and it's Tim Hortons. Then that's how that comes about, because they have the donuts from the donut shop and the sweet coffee, and they have more coffee. Anywho, general evaluator, I'll be evaluating the evaluations done by the evaluators themselves and how the meeting is run by our Toastmaster. Yes, thank you.
Our last job holder is table topics, which is Phil Russell. Phil.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster. How are you this morning?
Doing well, thank you.
Very good. So therefore you can hear me.
Yes.
All right. Now, I don't drink any of those. It's not potable. However, I do like their smoothies. Mocha, because they're nice and cold, they're sweet, they're the sin that they have. And when I go there, I usually get that. However, on coffee, I have 3 good questions. I know David is going to be in there because he could spend the whole meeting talking to us about coffee. So, David, be ready. I know you will be. However, I need to ask Jen Zapla a question. There you are, Jen. I've been traveling, and when I went out to Whidbey, where my son was stationed, there was a little place that we stayed, run by the Navy, a ex-Navy sailor, and they had Whidbey coffee. They brewed it. It was unbelievable. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning to taste it. It was so good. And I'd like to go out in the yard and smoke a good cigar and have a cup of coffee. Now, Jen, you have traveled the world much more extensively than I have. Oh, where did you find your best coffee? Jen Zapla.
Phil, thank you for that lovely question. Where did I find my best coffee? I used to live in Vermont and I always enjoyed Green Mountain coffee when I lived there. It's now in the grocery stores here, so that's pretty exciting. You can get it almost anywhere. Of course, as people mentioned with Tim Hortons, anytime you see something expand, you can also expect that the quality will start to drop a little bit. So it may not be quite as good as it was back in Vermont. However, I think the best coffee that I ever had was probably coffee that I made myself. So you can actually roast your own coffee beans, and there is nothing tastier than freshly roasted coffee beans. You buy them, they actually are green, they come green, and you can roast them in an air popped popcorn maker, or you can roast them yourself, and they are excellent. French pressed, which is the way that I prefer my coffee. Thank you, Phil.
Very good. Now, in my travels too, there are coffees that have flavors. Now, we went to Tennessee recently to go back to my old stomping grounds in All Red and All Pine, Tennessee, and even had a chance to get up to Twinton. But right near Knoxville, they had this little coffee shop. I can't even remember what it was, but they had a flavor in it. It was maple. And at each of these places, I bring some back with me because the maple was just excellent. Excellent. Jill, I don't see you having, what's your flavor without all the other things, the ones that are roasted right there. And then you can flavor them up. But mine was maple. Jill Roaring, what is yours?
Well, Phil and fellow Toastmasters, as many of you know, I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I'm not civilized. I don't eat yogurt. I don't eat cheese. All these things that are supposed to be the whole, I'm getting this look from Tracy, like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. To me, they're completely unpotable. My favorite drink is Pepsi. I drink too much of it. Way too much, but that's, oh well. I do, back to the yogurt and cheese. You know, the commercials are milk, yogurt, cheese, 3. Well, I drink milk. When I was recently at the one doctor, we were discussing my broken back, and she mentioned the dairy products, and she actually included ice cream in there, which is good because I try to keep Perry's ice cream in business. But as far as the coffee, I prefer the Tim Hortons business. I like their smoothies. And I think Starbucks is pretentious. That's just my opinion of it. Spot coffee too, to me is pretentious. So that's my feeling on coffee. Pepsi is the way to go.
Back on again. Now, Dave, it's going to be your turn. I talked to you about the story once. I found out why the Italian folks use their hands so much in their speaking. When in Rome, you went down to San Pietro and you found a coffee shop, and all the people are sitting there and standing there drinking espresso, pouring it down, having these great strong cigarettes. I tried it. I can't stop talking with my hands. You get so excited. Now, Dave, you being our in-house coffee expert, please sum up the coffee wars as you know them to be. Dave Licata.
Don't be a practice.
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'd like to thank Sylvia and I'd like to thank Jill, because if I get to be Toastmaster, it will be the Cola Wars. I'll straighten you guys out. Because after all, folks, beverages are my life, and don't you forget it. This is the situation with the Hortons and the Starbucks. Starbucks is made a whole industry out of being pretentious, much like New Yorker magazine. They like to appeal to that higher income people that want something special. There's nothing wrong with that. Tim Hortons, when I go into Tim Hortons, I just ask for the dark roast. There's more flavor in, there's more coffee flavor in the dark roast. But you have to remember that you're giving up caffeine. The darker the roast, less caffeine. The caffeine goes up the chimney as they roast it longer. So, Phil, this silly idea that you have about Italians being all charged up on espresso is completely wrong, because that has less caffeine than anything else. Intense coffee flavor, yes. And don't forget, it all starts with outstanding potable water. But I am searching through brochures now, because I would like to go back to Italy for a second visit. Sadly, none of these tours hit Bologna. Bologna is the first college town in the history of the world. So what goes hand in hand with college? Coffee. And they have amazing coffee shops in Bologna because that's where it all started. Now, here's a tidbit to reinforce what I said about colleges. What city consumes the most coffee per capita of any other city? And if you said Syracuse, you'd be right. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
We need-
Sylvia, would you like to ask for a timer's report and word master's report?
Yes, timers report, Lynn.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Jen is not awake yet, I think, because she only spoke for 104. I barely had time to even set the lighting for her.
Oh, hold on, the light, I saw the light changing. Who was changing the light then?
I think you were into more than coffee.
I did not, I don't
I
think
saw
showed
the
screen.
background turn to red.
Red after a minute? No.
I saw it go green, yellow, red, and I was like, already? And so I stopped talking.
Okay, somehow my
I
background.
can confirm it did, they did rapidly change colors. I did see that as well.
I had to
Thank
re-add
you,
the
Mark.
background, so that probably confused you. We're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. So Jen qualifies on my error. Jill was 153 and David 214. So all three qualified time-wise. Madam Toastmaster.
Jackie, did the word, have they used the word? I only heard one or two, but.
Not doing well. Phil used it. However, our table topics participants, I did not hear Jen use it. I did hear Jill and David each used it once.
I don't see Marty in yet to be Kate's evaluator. But Carol's, okay, good. Carol will do that. All right, please cast your votes for Jen. I'm sorry, did you say, Jackie, all three used the word? Okay, Jill and David. But I'm going to go back to the coffee wars while you vote. I only have a few tidbits. First is, who's the consumer? Tim Hortons, people looking to grab and go coffee and away to work. Starbucks, people looking to sit down and work. What do they want? Tim Hortons customers want quick, easy service. Starbucks customers want a cup of coffee made precisely, I should need some caffeine, to their specifications. Their priority, Tim Hortons, fast order delivery. Starbucks, order accuracy. Popular beverages for Tim Hortons is coffee, iced cap, and iced coffee. Starbucks, a huge variety of specialty drinks. Now I'll start with our evaluator. Our first evaluator, I need some caffeine, is going to be Carol, who's evaluating Kate this morning.
This morning, Kate's path is persuasive influence. She's on level 2 project, understanding your leadership style. Her title is 716 day, and it's 5 to 7 minutes.
Kate volunteered to be one of our speakers this morning, and I appreciate it. Made my life a little easier yesterday. Thank you, Kate Orr.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and thanks everyone for your flexibility in stepping up. The title is 716 Day, which is on Saturday. I'm going to talk a bit about that, but the speech project is one that many of you have done. Can you raise your hand if you've done the Understanding Your Leadership Style? Yes, that's a lot of folks I can see. Great. Understanding your leadership style. So many of us have taken the assessment that Toastmasters offers. In my assessment, I typically lean towards, and I've said this before in a different path, I typically lean towards a facilitator, a coach, a diplomat. That's the kind of leadership style I have. So I did something interesting. Can I see a show of hands? For your workplace, have any of you ever done a DISC assessment? Can I see a show of hands? A DISC assessment. I can't see everybody, so I'm not sure. So Len, is there a way to see everybody who's Zooming? Well, it looks like they're mostly, except for lovely Mark, not there. Never mind. I do the same thing. In any case, so I've done a DISC assessment at work, and it's a typical personality style and behavior style assessment, and it's been around for decades, and the quadrants are divided like many of these are. DISC is D-I-S-C. D stands for dominance, I, influence, S, steadiness, and C, conscientiousness. You know me well enough to know that I'm not the most dominant, but I can lean that way. Influence is where I scored higher than anyone on my team at work because we all did this assessment and then showed the results to one another. I am not the most steady person. I try to think that I'm steady, but I know that that's a weakness. And then as far as conscientiousness, I'm conscientious, I care about others, but that's certainly not the biggest strength that I have. And what it's interesting that it's done for the Red Cross is they do it across America, and anybody who wants to do this with their teams can do this DISC assessment, and then they can get to know each other's styles. And I said, you don't even know me now. You're going to judge me because of this DISC assessment style. Like I just started working here. So that was my question, although some of these tests are interesting. And it doesn't go in that direction. So I thought, okay, we're not judging one another, I suppose I understand. But it goes so far as to anyone who has taken this assessment, who wants it to be known publicly, it can be part of our profile on our emails. And it's a software program that when you are maybe planning a meeting, let's say with 5 people, if your assessments are all on there and it shows your styles, it suggests to you on this software the best way to communicate with one another. Put it into bullets. Keep it brief, or give details, or plan a meeting like this. Be sure to do this. Because of these 5 people that are part of the meeting, this is what you should do. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, if it works. So that's fascinating. I won't continue on that because it's something I'm still in the middle of. Maybe I'll assess it and bring it back in a future speech. But I thought it aligns well with this project of understanding your leadership style. Now, as a leader for the club, let me just step out a little bit. As a leader for the club, a lot of you, and it started with Dave, called me the cruise director or social director, something like that. And so I have planned this 716 day for this coming Saturday. I put it on Facebook, but I didn't email everybody like I thought I would. And so the detail-oriented steadiness, conscientiousness that I'm a bit weaker about, I didn't give as many details in email like I ought to have. I'll do that. And I know that some folks have already said, oh, you'll see me there. Oh, I'm coming. I can't wait. Guess who I even saw this past Sunday? Moklis. And he said, see you at Shakespeare in the Park. And I said, awesome, without skipping a beat. I almost said, you're kidding. No, we won't see you. But he said he'll be there. So what we're doing this Saturday, for anyone who hasn't heard, is going to the Botanical Gardens in the morning and meeting anytime around 11. The corpse flower is already bloomed and gone. And so we don't have to worry about the lovely aromas. I thought I was kind of excited, actually. I wanted to check that out. I know that Jackie shared that and Ryan experienced it before. So I was kind of excited. Blooms only once every 5 years or 7 years or something like that. In any case, the botanical gardens will smell lovely, and it's only $7.16 to celebrate our local, our local culture and our local zip code, anyone in this area. After we tour the botanical gardens and you just go at your own pace, we'll head on over to Delaware Park, which is a beautiful space where we can just relax for the afternoon. We can set up any chairs, blankets, towels, bring picnic items, bring your own coolers. You could go over to the bar overlooking the lake there. It's quite pretty. I think it's called the Terrace, and walk around the Rose Garden. You can walk around the park. There's a lot to see. And the show itself for Shakespeare in the Park is at 7. And so we'll be staying quite a long day, but it'll be a nice way to relax. I encourage you to bring even cards or board games if you are that kind of folks who want to play games for hours at the park, or literally soak up nature. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to see more and more of us there. And I actually invited other Toastmasters clubs and other groups that I'm involved in. So it turned into kind of like a social day, enjoy each other's company, get to know people that you know already, but want to get to know better, or maybe make some new connections. And so I invited some others from Division A, since I am the incoming Area 13 director. So that's going to be a lot of fun this Saturday. So come join me and show a little buff of love. And again, if you have questions, please let me know. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Our second evaluator, Gerald Stevens, will be evaluating Beth Banks.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. It's my pleasure today to evaluate Beth Banks. She had shared with me that she was kind of roped in the last minute as the alternate speaker. So, but she is stepping up, so I appreciate that. It is, she's just kind of in the beginning of her Toastmasters journey. So she's doesn't have a manual she's drawing from. But that being said, she does have a title and she does have a speech, and it is 5 to 7 minutes. Mr. Timer, do you have the title, Sylvia? Okay.
I do, thank you.
Beth's title of her speech this morning is My Journey with Coffee. Beth Banks.
My journey with coffee. My first experience with coffee was probably when I worked at the migrant program at Alcott Elementary School. They told me then, if you're going to be a teacher, you have to learn how to drink coffee. It was a great job for me because I literally lived across the road. All I had to do was walk across the road, go to work. I wasn't too sure about what they said about coffee though. Just because I'm going to be a teacher, I have to drink coffee? I don't remember drinking much coffee in college. But after I got a job as a teacher's aide in Newfane, I do remember drinking coffee, going to the faculty room, drinking coffee. Did that last all year? No, it did not. In January, the blizzard of 77, I didn't drink much coffee from that point on. My stomach couldn't handle it. I was pregnant with a certain young member of our group here. During all my pregnancies, I couldn't handle coffee. I just couldn't. Moving along, then a number of years later, began to teach full time. I definitely added coffee to my routine. And I discovered Keurig. That really worked for my husband and I because we were never on the same morning schedule. So making a whole pot of coffee didn't work very well. Keurig was perfect, little teeny K-cups. You could have weak, you could have strong, you could have it at 6, you could have it at 8. It was great. That was the solution for us. Until our house got hit by lightning. According to the Keurig representative, Keurigs are very susceptible to being hit by lightning. Who knew? So our house got hit by lightning. It killed the coffee maker. It killed the central vacuum motor. It was 20 years old. It didn't owe us anything. Okay, go get a new one. As far as the Keurig goes, they did send us a new one, but they did tell us it would only happen once. So make sure when there's a storm coming, unplug your Keurig coffee maker because they're susceptible. Okay, that worked for a while. But then my husband and I were both retired. I saw advertised a new type of coffee machine. It had a pot on one side and a K-cup on the other side. Great. I couldn't find it anywhere. Okay. We happen to be going to Frankenmuth, Michigan. I've mentioned that place to a number of you before. Mostly we go for the German aspects and the German food and the great resort that's there. There also is an outlet mall. I did convince my husband on the way out to stop at the outlet mall. There might be a kitchen place there. Lo and behold, they had that coffee pot. It was great. Took it home, loved it. We've been using it maybe 7 or 8 years. I do agree you do have to use potable water, no matter which side you're going to use, but it works very well. I make my few cups of coffee in the morning early. It's rather weak, I have to admit. Then my husband and my son make the chewy kind. It's what I call it anyway. It's a bit stronger. Finally, everyone's happy. Now, if you are looking for fancy coffee and you want to come and visit me, you may have to bring your own K-cup for that. We don't have the ones that are this long named, yes, the, cafe mocha, we don't have that. But we have a wonderful deck behind our house. So if you want to come and bring your coffee, we can make it at our house and enjoy the deck and the coffee. Thank you.
Our third speaker, do I see Ryan on there? Is Ryan on? Oh, no. I know, he sent me everything. He sent the evaluation to Steve and I and his title. Ryan, no Ryan. Well, okay. Trick. Well, I'm going to call for a timers report. One, timers report.
Bringing my portable with me. Our two speakers today, Kate spoke for 624 and Beth for 507, both of them easily qualifying today. Madam Toastmaster.
Okay. We have the mother-daughter war today instead of the coffee wars. Please vote for Kate or Beth. Very hard. Each had great speeches. But here's a couple more little facts about the coffee war. So we go to the packaging. Tim Hortons has the same cup for all their coffees, that little red with the Tims, and I had it here earlier. Starbucks has the translucent cups highlighted with, for the colored drinks and texture. And then there's gamification. Tim Hortons roll up the rim, of course. And Starbucks has, as Mark said, the fancy words for their coffee, like grande. Item placement, Tim Hortons puts their sweets in the front so everyone can see them. And Starbucks has personalized cups that they rate your name on. Service, Tim Hortons employees are instructed to prepare an order in 30 seconds or less. I differ. I stood in line many times longer than that. Starbucks has dedicated cashiers, plus someone who checks the order as they hand it to you. So at the end of the day, Tim Hortons customers are looking for a quick stop to get their cup of joe on their way to work. Starbucks customers are primarily looking to flaunt their personality in a unique cup of coffee. Each coffee shop has been cited to find better ways to do recycling of their cups. And as of today, neither one has passed. So remember again, as I said earlier, a unique product plus an extraordinary experience equals premium price. Mr. General Evaluator Thomas, would you please come up? Fast meeting.
All right, let's hear it for Sylvia, our Toastmaster for today. Very nice subject. Coffee is something that we have on tap right here in the room. And I think even if you don't like coffee, at some point in your life, you end up just using it for the caffeine, I think. Because you can only drink so much Coke before your blood sugar gets too high. And I didn't realize the tea outdoes coffee. Thank you for that fact. I really did enjoy that.
In the world, or?
Right,
That makes sense.
right. Well, I know it's chai in India and has other names throughout.
So incredibly economical.
It's economical.
Doesn't cost much to make tea, so it's huge in the third world.
Right, and I guess you can make tea out of just about any leaf and as it has caffeine in it. If it has any caffeine, you can just make coffee. I guess you could do it without caffeine too. I've seen like lemon tea and other stuff, so I guess you could use just about anything. So they win just because they're not just using one plant. All right. So we did not do the evaluations yet. The evaluations are the next part of the meeting. Our first speech was by Katie Orr, and her evaluator was, my brain is locked up as to, it was Carol, correct. So if you get it, I'll give a round of applause for Carol as she comes up to give her evaluation of Katie.
All of us who know Kate realize that she loves to communicate verbally. And for this speech, she had to recognize what her style is. She is always enthusiastic, which adds to any speech. and she makes her, gives us enough information about the two events on 7/16 that piques our interest and makes us think about attending. The one thing that she did mention was the zip code, and actually it's our area code. And I remember she first talked about this at one of our officers' meetings, and you know, she kept mentioning 7/16, and I asked, well, what day is that on? And she says, 7/16. And the one thing that I did notice with Kate, she did make eye contact, but then there were times when she was more looking up, not exactly at the audience or the Zoom audience. I think once she came in front of the lectern, she held the mic, and it was good to be in front, but I know the gesture master may have noticed she just didn't seem to be doing too many hand gestures, but her speech was very, very informative, interesting, and again, makes us want to participate in what she talks about. Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Drew. The next speech was by Beth Banks, and her evaluator today is Gerald.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Before we start the timing, I did want to talk about my favorite coffee, Kona coffee from Hawaii. OMG, so good. So good. I had it like every day I was there. I swear to you, I had withdrawals for a week. I was definitely caffeined up, and I'm gonna get a case if I go there again, because it is much cheaper there for sure. So if you ever get to go again or anytime, definitely put me in for an order. Start of my evaluation, Mr. Timer. Beth, thank you for your speech today. Appreciated you stepping up, number one, as alternate speaker. It is tough to do that because sometimes you don't expect to be called upon. It's good to be prepared, certainly, but you're like, oh yeah, well, they sent their stuff in and everything will happen. But sadly, it's summertime and sadly things go crazy sometimes. So appreciate that to start off, that you actually stepped up, because you could have said, oh, well, I don't have time, I'm not gonna do it, this and that. But she didn't do that, so kudos for that. Love that coffee demanded, your people demanded that you have coffee. I was like, okay, that's job requirement. I didn't see that in the job description. Very interesting. So she brought her natural humor in with that part of her speech, which I think was great. I definitely saw that her teaching skills came out here today for sure. So her eye contact was there. She was looking around the room. She definitely used vocal variety as well. So she raised her voice here or there. I thought that was pretty good because no one wants to hear a teacher that drones on forever and ever. So she definitely didn't do that. So I could see why she was popular with the students. She took a deep breath for drama. Oh, I might use that myself. I haven't thought about that. That's pretty good. I liked it. And gestures were pretty natural as well. But as a Toastmaster, we have to give her some pointers for improvement. In front of the lectern, definitely something she could have done for improvement. It's nice to sit behind the lectern, it's like kind of protective, right? And no one can get me. And sometimes we see people holding on to the lectern on top of that for a little more protection. At least you didn't have your arms crossed. That would have been worse. The gesture master would have been all over that, I'm sure. But in the end, I think that was because she's wanted a little bit of a buffer, we'll say. I wanted to know more about lightning hitting your house as a personal personal point. Did the house light on fire? Do you have a lightning rod? I'm definitely going to follow up on that after the meeting. I want to know more about lightning hitting the house. Anything getting hit by lightning is pretty rare, right? So, but she had that in her life, so that's pretty cool. As an interesting aside, more pros of what she did. She used the word of the day. Not everybody does that in their speeches, and especially being a more spontaneous thing. Love that. She did the speech on the theme. Also not done a lot. So good job there. And she did have a call for action at the end, in my mind, because she said, come to my house and sit here and chill. So in my life nowadays, I'm all about that. You may not have that impression of me, but I am drifting towards that maybe as I get older. I talked about classical music, that's part of that. Chilling by the pond in the Adirondacks coming up, that's part of that. So I'm trying to do more and more of that. So call to action to come chill with Beth. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Gerald. For his last time up here, I'm going to be calling for time to let us know how our evaluators did. Len.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I'm pleased to report that both of our evaluators today qualified time-wise. Carol speaking for 2:44 and Gerald 3:15. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can either vote for Gerald or Carol. Marty's been good enough to take over collecting up the votes for me. He is here, Marty is here, and so I gave him a role to fill while he's here. A funny story, the first time I saw the word potable, I thought it was actually part of the longer non-potable, and I pronounced it non-potable. And I'm like, what does non-potable mean? What the heck is non-potable water? You can't put it in a pot, you can only use a cup? What is this? Well, apparently it's, water that's not clean and not drinkable. So non-potable water, if you see it's not like flammable and non-flammable. It is not, both those mean the same thing. Non-potable actually does mean something, you don't want to drink it. I don't even know what it was for. It was just in a big tank. Maybe it was for irrigation or something like that, but I just remember non-potable was the first time, but it's not potable, it's potable. And I gave that speech last week, and I don't know if I accidentally mispronounced it as potable at least once. All right, with that, given that time, I'd like to start talking first about the evaluators and the speeches. Our first evaluator was Carol. She came up and gave us a good summary and definitely gave Katie things to work on. I would say that there's probably a little bit too much rehashing of the actual speech content and not on the presentation. Her hand gestures, she did mention she came out in front of the lectern, which is good. It's a good practice. I'm going to actually move the lectern back, and when we give our final reports, I'm going to be handing the microphone off up here and force people to be in front of the lectern just so that they feel the difference. So I took that from your evaluation as something that Katie does well and something that we should do. Katie, I like the fact that you talked about a personality test at first. You talked about a dial test, and it took a little while for you to eventually get around to explaining that it was a personality test. Maybe starting with that and then define it as we call it a dial test. But I also think that you could have improved with telling more of a story. even if you can make it up, you can make up stories up here. You can make one up about Doug and Fred at your new workplace, and you can really bring people in with that. I find this, I tend to find that I'm drawn into speeches more if they're more in a story format. And I think that's something that I need to work on especially when in one of those paths, you're given a specific task to talk about something. And I've seen the one with personality tests and the leadership tests done both ways, and it's always the story ones that seem to do better. Overall, a really good job. Next, we had Gerald evaluating Beth. Beth, you were the alternate speaker, and you probably wrote that speech this morning or last night. Yeah. Knowing the topic and saying, you know what, I'm just going to pick the topic of the day, and I'm going to go through it. Again, same as your evaluator, I wanted to know more about the lightning. Maybe that's a future speech. Most people are not struck by lightning. It's like a weird occurrence. Like, I don't think I've ever been anywhere near a lightning strike in my entire life. So I'm just hope that continues for the rest of my whole life. It was like being given a 5 to 7 minute table topic, but given time to prepare. So that was really good. I like the fact that you did use the story format and it flowed, and you jumped from little tidbits, but they all strung together. And you had a very strong ending. Your opening could have been a little bit stronger, but the end was definitely the highlight of the speech. Gerald, your evaluation hit most of the points that I've already written down. So outstanding evaluation. There's nothing really I can say that you could have done better with that. And that is our evaluators. And they both made time. Our speakers made time. Our table topics people made time. So that's 2 weeks in a row. Everyone's made time. I hope we can continue that. Sylvia, you were not table topics. You were a Toastmaster for today. And you did a really good job with research on the topic. You gave us information. You had stories. You had good filler material in between. Knowing that we might only have 2 speakers, you were able to stretch it out a little bit and actually use everything you've probably prepared. I like that. Sometimes it's better to have too much. Sometimes we end up as Toastmasters not being able to use half of what we have ready, because we're looking at the time and we're watching how things are pacing, and we're like, oh my goodness, the meeting's going to go past 8:30. I can't let that happen. You dealt with the fact that there were multiple role changes during the week. You dealt with the fact that there was a need for speakers. You called upon the alternate speaker. I don't know if we could have even gotten a second alternate speaker. Not really sure if that's going to ever be possible, but you definitely called upon Beth, and that was a good thing. Where it could have been better, I don't know. You actually had a printable. You actually had a printed agenda. That's something that half of us tend to miss. You show up as Toastmaster and you're all concerned with roles, and you've been sending emails all week, but you forgot. One of the things that I used to like was the fact that people would make them where they folded, and it was a little book, and you could actually go through the book and there was stuff on the subject. I was like, I think we've fallen away from that. I think that's something we could all improve on. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start calling on our roll keepers. So going backwards, since I'm general evaluator and Timer's already done his thing, going backwards up the list, Tracy Farrell is the quiz master. So I'm going to actually call on the quiz master now. Do you mind if I put you out in front? Okay, we'll go out in front.
Oh, front, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. We're going to move out in the front.
All right. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So everybody was listening very closely today. What type of beverage does Len Thornton like to drink every morning? Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee, yes. So what does dark roast have less of? Caffeine.
And I'm sure everybody remembers which city drinks the most coffee in the world? Yep. Is it the world or are you saying the US? So are we even sure if it's the US or just New York? Okay, okay, per capita. Which characteristic in the DISC assessment does Kate prominently display? Influence. What type of coffee do Mr. and Junior Banks drink?
Oh, I'm totally calling her Junior now.
I was gonna say, Jill, right, the chewy coffee. What aspect does both Tim Hortons and Starbucks fail at? Recycling. Awesome, you guys did 100%. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. All right. I am going to Zoom now. I'm going out to Zoom land for our tech and gesture master, Mark Campos, everyone. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. Talking about gestures first, I thought by and large, most of the speakers, most of the Toastmasters or job holders were very good with gestures. They tended to be more of the subtle variety, sort of like what I'm doing right now. But I would like to commend a few that I thought went above and beyond today. Phil Russell, our table topics master. Phil, very demonstrative. I liked your however, like a professor, and then your hands were moving all over the place. Really good job in terms of gestures. Kate, I thought you did a very good job with gestures coming in front of the lectern, and you were using them very, very effectively. And Thomas, our general evaluator, it was a remarkable thing. Initially, I found you to be sort of restrained at the lectern, but at one point you alluded to gestures and coming in front of the lectern, and it was if the switch was turned on, and you were then very demonstrative with your gestures the rest of the way. So perhaps you just reminded yourself, not sure. Technologically, I thought overall we had a really good day. None of my, as I call, mute button mishaps occurred, which is always a good thing. We did have one momentary freeze where we lost the lectern camera because of Zoom. Not much we could do about that. We did have some issues with the lights in the room. I mean, it could have been very, very costly. It might have cost Jen an opportunity to win the table topics contest, but alas, she neglected to use potable. Sorry, Jen. I just had to point out that once again, that spirited defense was for naught, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Mark. All right. Demonstrable. That was a great word. Thank you very much for that word. Our grammarian today is going to tell us all about how we did. And that's going to be Nancy Ferry.
General Evaluator. This morning I was listening for grammar. I heard some really good terms, piggyback, without skipping a beat, chewy coffee. That's a great one. Portable, potable. Flaunt their personality in a cup of coffee. Unique product, extraordinary, I believe it was extraordinary service. Is that right? Or there was something else. Experience, that's what it was. Unique product, extraordinary experience. Piques our interest, spirit of defense was for naught. A few somethings. One time I heard is instead of has, who instead of, who is instead of who are, cuz is not a word. Stuff stuff is a word, but it's not very explanatory of what we really want to say. And there were quite a few so's. Other than that, great meeting, and what a great word, potable. I like that as well. It was used a lot. Not that that's my job, but I did hear it, and it's a great word.
Thank you so much. Now, we get to hear how so Mike Licata is gonna eventually tell us how we did today. Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning, once again, fellow Toastmasters. Many strong speakers, but I was listening. Kate had 4 uhs, Caroline had more than 4, Kate had more than 4 ands, Caroline had 3 ands, Beth, I call you with a so, and our other speakers were pretty strong this morning. Mr. General Elevator.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the camera so those of you at home can see the incredible ability. Look at how clear and large and wonderful our word of the day is up there. I would like everyone to take note of how that's done. That location is a little bit off camera for you people, but for us in the room, we all had an awesome constant reminder of what our word of the day was. So I want to think that was awesome. And with that, I'm going to call on our word master, Jackie Kenny, to give us a report.
Thank you for pointing out that I brought my big fat marker and I wrote in large letters and went over them twice so they'd be very visible. And still you didn't use the word. As a mother, I can say I'm very disappointed in you today. I did, however, hear it from Beth, Len, Thomas, Phil, Mark, and Nancy toward the end. So thank you for that. And it's potable. You can listen to pronunciations on the internet if you're not sure how to say a word. So make sure you do that. Thank you, Mr. General.
Thank you so much. Did I miss anyone for a report? No? All right, I'll give myself a good mark for that one. Excellent. So at this point in the meeting, we normally turn it over to our president for announcements, the winners, the 50-50. I have not gotten the 50-50 yet and divide the money. I'll run over there and get that as soon as you're up here. Mr. President, Gerald Stevens.
Okay. We have a few extra minutes. So before I do my call for announcements, I would like to hear from a few Toastmasters we haven't heard from so far relating to the topic of coffee. And I saw Steve Smith look up first. So Steve, if you could just give us a few opinions about the theme, the coffee wars, or just your general impression of coffee. Steve Smith.
Thank you. Yes, I drink coffee, a lot of coffee. I have to have coffee in the morning to get going, which makes us an interesting couple because she can't stand coffee. I do have a story about Starbucks. Now, there's one story I can't tell you, but I'll tell you the other half of it. I go into a Starbucks and I don't know what in the world I was thinking. I wanted a cup of coffee. I go up, get in line at the counter, wait my turn, and the young lady behind the counter looks at me and I said, I want a cup of coffee. She couldn't have looked at me any stranger if I said, I just showed up from Mars. I said, isn't this a coffee shop? Well, if you want coffee, you got to go in a special line over there. I went, well, wait a minute. This is a coffee shop. I got to go to a special line to get coffee? And I'll leave the other story out because I can't tell that here. Ask me afterwards. But yes, I need my coffee in the morning. I like Timmy Hortons better because, well, I don't know about now, but before you can go there any time of the day or night and get coffee. Imagine my surprise when I came back from the observatory about 3 o'clock in the morning, buy a new Timmy Hortons, and it wasn't open. I'm going, what's wrong here? Unfortunately, down the road, there's another place that is always open, the Flying J. We always get a cup of coffee, which is great. So yeah, I'm a real coffee drinker. I got to get back to my coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And I would also like to point out that you can actually go to a convenience store and get cheaper coffee than Tim Hortons nowadays. And I've been doing that, but I want one that grinds it fresh. So if you know one in Buffalo that grinds it fresh, I'm interested in that. Tell me the information. Marty Johnston, would you like to talk about the topic today about coffee and your experiences? You work at Tops. You probably have a few things to say about coffee, I'm going to say, and you work some late hours sometimes. Marty Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I could probably talk about coffee all day, but I won't. I've heard many stories of Dave Licata from back in the day of his Licata vending, Licata coffee, on and on and on. Very interesting topic. Very interesting, very timely topic. At Tops, many of you have seen the display of coffee or the section of coffee. And it almost takes up that probably 3/4 of that wall, probably close to 30, I would say at least 30 feet of coffee. And at one point it was just your traditional Maxwell House and Folgers and maybe a Tops brand. But as Gerald said, I think we have the Kona, we have McDonald's, Dunkin', you name it. And it's like, what's next? What company's next? What flavor's next? Tops has their own brand. I think it's called the Wide Awake in the K cups, and now they have the 72 count K cups, which are hard to keep on the shelf. You can only fit 2 boxes of the 72 count on the shelf, so you always want to make the sale, so there's someone pretty much assigned during the day to keep an eye on those and make sure they keep replenishing them, because a missed sale ends up to lost profit at the end of the day. But coffee is very interesting. I myself, after I had stomach surgery a couple summers ago, my surgeon's nurse suggested that I don't drink coffee because, you know, it tears apart your stomach in the long run. So what I've been doing, I've been either drinking decaf or I do 50-50. I do half water and half coffee because I like coffee. But it works. It works. I get just enough caffeine, and it works. Normally, I like coffee because it's colder at night. So I'll either drink that or I'll drink something decaf or broth. Broth has like sodium in it. It doesn't have caffeine, but I need something at night later, something warm and sodium. So, but that's my coffee story. Back to you, Mr. Club President Gerald.
Thank you, Marty. Before I call for announcements from the general crowd, is anybody going to the Toastmasters convention in Nashville? And it's hybrid, thank you. Yes, is anybody going to sit in? It's during the week. It's Wednesday through Friday, August 16th through the 19th. If I didn't already have vacation plans, I definitely would have thought about it. But in the end, I can't go. So there was a call for a proxy in the past presidents. Did we defer that to the district director? Is that how that works? I don't know if they actually want a form filed. So I'm curious about that. And I believe I recall someone telling me that in the past, that you can give proxy, but I wanted to give proxy to someone in the club first that might be going and attending the annual business meeting, because I actually can't attend online either because I'm working, right? So that's hard to do. And I feel like most people here are. So if anybody has a burning need to be the proxy or would like to attend the annual business meeting of the International Convention, you could do that and be a representative of AM Lockport. They have a bunch of proposals they sent around that changes in bylaws and different things like that you could actually vote on. If you're interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, I will defer the proxy to our district director, which is Kate Olson. Let's do an announcement of the winners today. So our best table topic speaker today is Dave Licata. Thank you.
Marty, we will do an intervention consult.
There'll be a post consult from Dave, a consultation. Our best evaluator is me. Yay. I will actually take this as well. And our best speaker today, Beth Banks. Kudos for stepping up once again. All right. We do have the 50-50 here. Beth, if I could call you back up here. Traditionally, the speaker does pick 50-50, and hopefully Tom got a second to put his in there. And the number, please.
The last 3 digits are 418.
418. Jackie Kenny is the winner today. So the split cup winnings are up there. Our Toastmaster for next week is actually Natalie. Do you think she'll be back around, Kate, from Texas, or is it unknown? Okay, so Katie does not believe she'll be back. If we could have a volunteer for Toastmaster next week, that would be good. I did Nancy, thank you. Nancy will be Toastmaster next week, and she will come up with a theme. Speakers, it doesn't have to be today, but it's good to also know who the speakers are. So the alternate speaker is Eric Snyder, and the speakers listed so we can prepare our speeches in a timely manner are Les Robinson, Margot Bittner, and Nancy Rose. So Nancy Rose is usually online, so you definitely want to get a hold of her, but she is not at this meeting. She does know. Okay, Nancy Rose. Okay. Yeah, good. So I just want to help out the Toastmaster a little bit. Looks like Jill has an announcement here.
Yeah. I got this contact form submission yesterday. And I'm gonna put it out here before I do anything with it and see what everybody wants me to do. This came about because of, can we have some quiet in the back there? I'm off camera. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, somebody put an announcement up. Lockport High School DECA Toastmasters class put on a fantastic meeting and it was enjoyed by all. We want to thank everyone who participated in the meeting. We'd also like to thank our own Kristen Badger-Bach, DTM, and Jill DiTullio for leading the next generation of public speakers. I don't know where this was, but Jeanette Creer of Creer Eggs saw it. And she asked for contact for Kristen and Jill, which obviously this is the Jill DiTullio. What she says, I saw this announcement and would like to start a chapter in Clarence High School where I am a business mentor for the Academy of Business and Finance. Please have Kristen or Jill reach out to me.
Jill, I would recommend you give her the contact for the Clarence Toastmasters group
That
and tell
was
her it would be her area.
That was my plan, truthfully.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, Jill DiTullio, she's a teacher, she's not. She has no connection with this at all. Creer Eggs, you know, the big egg farm up in Clarence. Yeah, I mean, it's Jeanette Creer of Creer Eggs is her email address. So,
yeah.
So, but I don't think she would be because I don't think so. I think this is a different Jeanette because If she was a Toastmaster, she would know about Clarence Toastmasters. She wouldn't be reaching out to Lockport for, maybe. So I don't know where she saw it, but she did see this, so, okay, so we'll take. Okay, all right, thank you, Katie. And that is my announcement.
Thank you. Any other announcements from online or from here in the room, from anybody else? Nancy has an announcement, yes.
It's not really an announcement, it's a plea. But I can't get on my knees, they don't work very well. I need, at hospice, we're going to do a lot more virtual kind of activities. And I would like someone who is really good at gestures and tech to perhaps make a 15-minute video on do's and don'ts. Like, don't jump into the camera like this, don't lean forward, all those things that we do as tech and gesture master. If somebody would be interested in doing that or coming and presenting, I just think that presenting would be a more difficult to organize and to schedule. So if there's anyone who'd like to do that, please give me a shout out. Thanks.
David Jones was a recommendation from the crowd. It could be a high performance leadership project for someone as well. A couple of those could be actually. Yeah, so those are a couple options for people that are interested in looking into those kind of things. The only other announcement I can think of is you guys all have a good day. Leave a few minutes early. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Oh, and the gavel, yes.
Principal,